I think it is important to give some background on myself so you know from what perspective this review is coming. If you want just the review, you can skip to the timestamp shown on screen. I'm a quite experienced cross-country skier in both the skate and classic technique. I raced through high school, but never at the top level and was never all that fast. I did, though, train with people who would end up skiing for top D1 college teams. I am very capable on Nordic skis. I'm also reasonably skilled and confident on alpine skis. I can ably ski all but the most difficult trails on the local mountains. I've done a lot of flat backcountry skiing through my life, and more recently have gotten into some semi-steep backcountry skiing using floppy boots and NNBC bindings and skis with minimal curve. Though most of my experience with these has been off-trail and deep snow, 2 years ago I did some postseason skiing at a local resort and I was able to comfortably ski blue trails. Though I've never tried alpine touring or resort-level telemark systems, 3-pin bindings, or skins, I have skied with people using those. My aim in purchasing this system was to increase my capabilities, particularly control, in steeper backcountry terrain. I was also hoping I would be able to use it on flatter terrain such that I would use this for all my off-trail skiing needs. The feeling I got from my previous NNBC bindings and floppy boots was a very limited control, particularly in deeper snow. Though I've tried to use this new equipment in varied terrain and conditions, this video has been developed from about 8 outings. It is not possible for me to have experienced all the possible situations which this gear could be used. Over time, I will develop better ways to use this gear to take advantage of what it does well and avoid it where it has issues. Overall, I am happy with the new equipment I've purchased, though it doesn't provide quite what I wanted. The boots and bindings provide a solid connection to the ski, more than any other freeheel system I've used, though not nearly as much as an alpine ski. Freeheel is always going to have less solidness and require a different style of skiing than alpine bindings, though I can plant my heel and ski alpine style with any freeheel binding I've used. Another difference is that my alpine skis and boots are very heavy. That momentum allows them to punch through smaller inconsistencies which lighter skis and boots, such as these, transfer to me. That makes the experience feel less secure. Though it's not possible to entirely separate the components of the system in evaluating how they work, I will try to start with the Rottefella Xplore binding. It holds onto the boot by trapping the spring-loaded pins which extend from the toe of the boot. This allows for stepping into the binding in a relatively easy release by pressing the tab on the front, which can be done with a pull. A similar process, though not quite as smooth as a Nordic auto binding. A rubber bumper is used at the toe of the boot to provide some forward and back resistance, as the pivot does not provide any resistance in its rotation direction. The medium resistance bumper, which comes with the binding, works well for general use. The hard flexor plate provides much less deflection for the same force, thus increasing the front to back control. While the small amount of deflection it does provide, in addition to the flexibility in the boot, still allows for freeheel skiing, though it does make it easier to do alpine style skiing and is generally better in steep, technical downhill terrain. Though the medium resistance plate is not incapable in steeper terrain. Though it is possible to climb at shallow angles with the hard bumpers on, I consider that I should really only be doing repositioning before continuing a downhill run. If I intend to climb, I should switch out to a different plate. The anti-ice plate is flat and does not provide any resistance. Its only purpose is to prevent snow from clogging the plate lock-in mechanism. I only feel the need to use it when I would be using the televators, though using the televators with the medium resistance bumpers does still work. If not using televators, the medium resistance plate does not provide enough resistance to inhibit climbing. I find when skiing with the anti-ice plate, there's a weird sharp tug on my foot when starting to accelerate the ski forward. Though I may have gotten used to it or altered my technique, so it's not as big of a deal now as when I first started using those. Using the flat plate without bumpers does provide significantly less control. I would compare it to a similar level that my floppy boots and NNNBC bindings provide, though it manifests in a different way. Descending short or gentle hills, such as in the middle of a climb, does not require switching out to a plate that has resistance. Switching out the plate can be easily accomplished in gloved hands, though getting them in and out of the secure pocket that I store them in often requires going to bare hands. The plate lock-in mechanism is very sensitive to snow getting in there, and I often have to blow it out when I'm switching the plates if there's fluffy snow around. The binding engagement is quite resistant to snow clogging, and even if it does clog, it can be easily cleaned due to its exposed nature. My main problem with the Xplore bindings is that when I'm putting my boot into them, they can sometimes not engage fully, only one of the pegs engaging, not both. This can feel like you're engaged, but if you start to put some force on the binding, it can pop out, which if you're going down a hill or moving at any sort of speed is not good. It will pop out very early on and can be easily tested by applying some torsion to the binding. So it's not that big of a deal, but sometimes it can be very difficult to get the boot locking into the bindings. I find this with particular problems with the hard flexor plate, though that one is much less likely to feel falsely engaged. I also have some concerns regarding the durability of the bumpers. This is the damage after quite limited use this winter. Though if these are wear parts that might last only a few seasons, they're not expensive to replace. Of more concern is the wear I see showing up on my boots, a much more expensive item. The biggest thing I noticed about the Rossignol XP 12 boots is they don't allow you to bend significantly at the ankle. They do allow you to bend at the ball of the foot and of course above the foot at the knee and the rotation pivot. This is significantly different than a skate boot, which provides lateral support while still allowing forward to back bending. This has required an adjustment in how I ski, which I dislike, as the boot limits me to either a shuffle or up on my toes for high energy climbing a hill, not allowing a nice easy stride. It still provides significantly more flexibility than an alpine boot. The double lace system, which is a lace for the lower portion of the boot and then up in your ankle, is necessary as these laces are what connect your foot to the boot. The attempts at keeping snow out of the boot comes up lacking. The included drawstring does not close up the entire way around the boot, leaving a gap, as the top strap, which doesn't feel like it adds much stiffness to the boot, is sewn on in the back. It can't be used to fully secure a pant leg underneath it. I greatly appreciate this in my skate boots, as it allows me to solidly keep snow out without gaiters by strapping my outer layer under the cuff. The XP12s require gaiters to keep all the snow out, not that there aren't other advantages to gaiters. These boots make it so I wouldn't choose this setup for flat skiing, not that I won't repeat hour-long skis in to steeper terrain. The Fisher Excursion 88s are a full metal edge backcountry ski. They have a no-wax central section for grip and glide waxable tips and tails. They do offer the compatibility with the Fisher Easy Skin or other types of full-length skins, but I have no intention of getting that. I don't want the bother of dealing with skins. The no-wax does provide sufficient grip for me, though it varies considerably depending on snow conditions. Though it can be annoying when following a skin track that gets too steep for the no-wax to have to get out of it and climb alternately. Despite the grip provided, the no-wax section has shown itself to be very resilient to snow sticking to it and clumping up, a huge benefit. Though not unsuitable for the type of terrain that these bindings and boots encourage me to ski on, these skis feel a little bit lacking. I think I would prefer something a bit wider and with more curve to it, such as the S-Bound Crown 98 of the same style. While this new gear has successfully increased my capabilities, it does not necessarily mean I'm having more fun. As I've discussed in a previous video, and I've observed in other activities as well, it is pushing the edge of my skill that is fun for me. With this new gear, it requires steeper slopes and more technical terrain to push the edge of my skill. It also requires more turnaround time if I'm switching out bumpers, and I don't like spending time doing that when yo-yoing. I'd be happy to answer any questions in the comments. Well, that was not what I was intending to do here, but this is really tricky snow conditions to ski in.